In this module, we're going to take a look at modifying the properties of individual elements and how we can change the properties of other elements to match. So when we make this selection, we talked about selections in the last module. We've now selected 6 elements, and I just used the shift to box select. I held the shift and I selected the last line over here. Another way I could do is select all of them, deselect the circle. I can also come up here, select the whole thing, hit L, Control A. So lots of different ways. But what I've done up here is select 6 elements, and all 6 of these are editable. Elements can either be locked or they may be reserved for teamwork, and you would see a distinction between selected and editable. In this case, all of them are editable. Anything that I change will make a modification to all 6 of these lines. So if I select this line, now that one's a little hard to see. Do that again, L, Control A, and let's go to change it to a zigzag. And it changed all 6 lines to a zigzag. Let's say I want to use the break line instead. I can use Alt Pickup, which is the pickup properties, and then I can inject them using Control Alt, and that is a little syringe. Once I select that line, it'll change whichever one I select to be those properties. So these tools are up here on the standard toolbar, but I'm almost always using the Alt to pick up the properties and the Control Alt to inject the properties, and I encourage you to do the same. So what happens when you pick up the properties, so let's go over here and pick up these properties. When I pick up those properties, those become the default settings, and the next line that I draw will use the default settings. So if I want to create a new line and I want it to be a break line, I can just come over here and pick up these properties with Alt. That'll also change my tool to a line, and then I can draw using that line type. If I want to draw something that has all the same properties as a circle, I can hold Alt, pick up those properties that automatically changed my tool to a circle, and I can come over here and draw a circle, confidently knowing that all the properties are exactly the same. So when you pick up properties, it changes the default. When I inject properties, so I picked up those properties, when I inject them, it's going to take the default properties and overwrite the properties that were currently being used for that element. So I'm picking up properties, moving them into my default, and then I'm taking my default properties and applying them to other elements. And this is a very important part of ArchiCAD that you need to be very comfortable with. The last thing I'm going to show you with this is something that allows you to change properties across different elements. And let me give you an example of that. So for example, if I want to change this circle and this line to a solid line, I can't change both at the same time because only one command is available, and I can't do both unless I come up here and I hit this Edit Selection Set. When I hit Edit Selection Set, it gives me the parameters that are valid across the different elements. So in this case, the line and the circle, I can change the pen, and I can change the layer, and I can change both of those at the same time. And I want to change them to a different layer. Now they're both on walls, and I'll make them both lighter gray, and I hit OK, and I was able to change both of them at the same time. So this is the only time that I can make changes to multiple types of elements at the same time. And I have just a few parameters that I'm allowed to even do that to. Notice that the line type is not one of them. So that's one distinction that you need to make, is changing properties and how different elements have different properties, and you can't globally change them all at once. So a couple shortcuts to note, that keyboard shortcuts, if I do make a selection, if I hit the apostrophe, well, it's actually the backwards apostrophe, it's on the left hand side of the one. This will bring up the dialog if I need to change any properties, same as double clicking on the tool here. If I want to select multiple and make multiple select changes at the same time, shift and the tilde will bring up this edit selection set. So those are the keyboard shortcuts that you can use to make those changes at the same time. So that'll wrap up this module. In the next module, we're going to talk more about modifying elements and doing some geometric manipulations that are going to be very helpful when you're laying out your geometry.